Derek, let's just start with that, with Alvin just being here and how that is, and maybe talk a little bit about how he is being accountable for some of the culture stuff that may have, wasn't probably there last season.
Yeah, he's been absolutely amazing. He was there in minicamp for the 2 days. He was really there 3 days, and then he had to go, and he showed up to camp. He's been here, which I think anytime, it's not a secret, it's a contract thing, right? Anytime the player says, you know what, you know how I feel, and still says, I'm going to show up for my team, I'm going to show up for my organization, I think that speaks more to the front office than anything. Like us as teammates, he was like, I was looking, I was like, I didn't want to bother him, but I was ready to call him after the first team meeting if I wasn't there. But he was there, and I think that speaks. That's the loudest thing he could say, by showing up and working the way that he does. He talked about his leadership style. He goes to work. He comes in the best shape out of anybody. He comes in ready to go. He's on his assignments. He's all that, and he doesn't say much. He talks to me. He talks to a few guys, about some things and stuff like that. About direction and how he sees it, and we talked it through and all that. But when we're out here, he just works, and I think hopefully that spoke volumes to whoever and whatever he's trying to get done.
Were you surprised to see him?
No, I expected to see him, but you never know. Again, you never want to get into anybody's business, and especially business stuff. Personal stuff, you just want to be there for him. But like this business, he's a grown man. Let him do what he's got to do. But at the same time, I expected to see him because I knew where his heart was in minicamp. I knew where his head was, and all that kind of stuff about things we had talked about. So I can't say that I was surprised to see him, but I was happy to see him.
You said you seemed surprised.
I was surprised because when I first walked in the team meeting room, I always look where he's sitting. He wasn't there. He had moved a couple rows, so that's why I was like, oh shoot. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, that's better.
He's he talked about his leadership style and the fact that things hadn't been on point the last couple of years.
Yep.
How much has he really factored into the meticulousness that you guys have talked about in off season and now in training camp?
Well, I'll say this: the main thing is, we've all made a commitment to each other to hold each other accountable. And it starts with Clint. And Clint is holding us accountable. Like it doesn't matter if I completed, a pass to Sheed today. It's gonna be like, I'll put it on this shoulder, not this shoulder. Put it right here. It's like it's coached and it's in front of everybody. The starting quarterback to someone trying to make the roster. Like everyone is getting coached, extremely tough, and the standard is the standard. And if I'm getting coached, he's really talking to all the quarterbacks. If he's talking to a receiver, he's talking to all the receivers. And we're all expected, once that point is made, to be on it. And so we'll go in there and I'll have, a handful of things especially from the first practice. There's always a handful, of rust, and he's going to drill it, he's going to call it out and all that kind of stuff. And it's our job as players now to be like, okay, he said it, now hold each other accountable to it out here. And so I feel like we're in a good place. We ended in a good place in the off season. I think we've picked up right there.
Derek, how would you describe Clint, like in those settings? Mickey was kind of talking about it yesterday, where he's a really quiet person when you're just kind of talking to him one-on-one, but you can kind of see the confidence, the confidence behind it. How would you describe it?
Oh, he's very he's meek. He's like power under control. He's he's calm, but there's certain authority to him. And he knows his system. He knows this game. He's been around it since he was a kid, so mentally he's on it. But like you talk to him one-on-one, he's quiet. He's to himself. He just wants to hang out with his family. Nothing crazy. But when it comes to corrections in football, he's on us. He calls it out, and there's just so much respect for him in our room. Because one he's coaching everybody, and the standard has never changed since we met him. And so his confidence. He doesn't yell. He never yelled at us, but he does, like, in his own way, tell us like what's acceptable, what's acceptable and what's not, and he does it every single day.
How much more comfortable do you feel as you're number 2 as Saints quarterback?
I definitely feel more comfortable with just organization, the city, the team. It's like I said, like it took longer to get used to than I thought it would. I thought being in the league, 10 years, now 11, like it would happen faster. That really didn't matter. You change organizations. it's a learning curve. It really is, especially for the family just aspect of it. That was probably the hardest part. But this offseason has been great because just been doing things with my teammates. Going out to eat, having a whole bunch of guys at the house. Cooking them steaks. It just felt like that family atmosphere that I was just used to. And they did a great job. The guys did a great job of just opening their arms and helping me get through that process last year. But this year was just, I don't want to say it's easy, but it was just more comfortable for sure.
How much more comfortable are you now? I mean, everybody's talking about being away from home, but you're actually right back home more or less now, given Cali native and all that.
Yeah. No, everyone's like talking about, hey, we got to go across the country. I'm like, that's right where my house is. I know these streets, and so for me, this is awesome. Being out here, but the sad part is like the training camp, like where you have your fans there, like you miss that. Not being in New Orleans, having our fans, to see, Chris jump up and make a play, or Lat jump a pass and break it up. Fans love that. Like we love that too. They're going crazy in walkthrough when guys catch a ball. We miss that aspect of it, but the weather and all that kind of stuff, it sets up for your mindset for it to be easy. But what a great opportunity for us to push through and make it hard. And so we like being out here. It's been cool, but it's just day one. So hopefully we continue to like it.
Derek, when Sean Payton and Drew Brees first left, the organization still talked about wanting continuity, keeping the culture they had built for a long time. It seems like the conversation has changed a little this offseason. It's 3 years out of the playoffs. Things do need to change around here. What have you noticed most from what the approach was in your first year here and what the approach is in your second year?
Yeah, there's a different, it's a heightened sense of urgency. You just feel it. I thought it was good last year, but then you get through it and you see, oh wow, this, and then you get into this camp and these meetings, the off season, our team meetings, all that, everything is just the urgency, the standard, just the energy, the fun. I mean, we're still having a great time like a team, but it's hard. They've made this, the off season was one of the hardest off seasons I've ever been a part of. Physically, mentally, I was drained. I put on a few pounds. I got my sleep back, but it was mentally and physically tough. But now you see that urgency taking place. Our practices are fast, are urgent. There's a physicality to them. Already you can feel it on day one, and you feel that, and what that leads to is higher competition, hopefully produces higher results.
Hey Derek, Mickey was saying that he's kind of noticed a chip on the shoulder for this team. I'm wondering if you've seen that, and then how have you maybe seen that as the last couple months?
Yeah, I would say that myself, starting with the leaders, passing on, we're a little pissed off, and a little edgy, a little testy, as my wife would probably say. But that's this time of year, it's going to be competitive. They want to beat us, and we want to beat them every single day. But we're doing that because when it comes to it, we want to beat the opponent, and we're going to do that together. So we feel like if we can have that chip, be a little edgy, be a little pissed off about it, that leads to, more physicality mentally and physically. And so, yeah, I definitely feel that.
Does that chip just come from not making the playoffs last season, or where does that chip kind of come from?
I think it's not even just that. I think it's just not ending with the championship, that's what we all do this work for. You got, guys like Cam, Hall of Famer. You got guys like Taysom, AK, DeMario, Tyron's 1-1, but you got guys that want to do it for New Orleans. You got guys that want to do it here. And we haven't done that yet. DA said, whatever you've done, he spoke to the room. He's like, whatever you've done, clearly for our team, it hasn't been enough. So every man looked at themselves like, you got to be mentally and physically exhausted every day. What else can we do? How many more things can you throw? How many can you run? What else can you watch? What else can you study to make sure that when we hit that field this year, it's a different outcome?
Going into this season for Chris, who's kind of a clear-cut number one in that room, there's no question about it. Have you seen any different approach from him? How has he come into this year with kind of that mantle?
Yeah, I think his mentality is always great. He's always been very good communicator. Him and I, we've grown so much from the start of last year to now because, when Mike was here, they're getting his plays, and then is it Chris, and then it's that transition of Chris was starting to get the one targets, all that kind of stuff, and it was different. But coming into this year, he knows every ball. He's like, in his head, every ball's mine. Every play that's called, he should feel like I'm getting that thing. And so, just the communication, the extra work we're putting in after practice. We're going to do it every day. Like, just all of that stuff, you know, is just growth for both of us, because it was kind of spread out last year, whereas now it's like, all right, dude, like, these are going to be your, 30 plays. Like, let's get really good at these. And so, I think his mentality from that aspect, I think his confidence, I guess, just knowing the situation is definitely more comfortable.